focusing on the action right now at the Red Rooster Sydney Super Sprint and the Australian Endurance Championship. Dean, we've been seeing you running GTs this year, but it's the GT 86 that you're running this weekend, and not playing a part with what the GTs are up to. But let's check out all the action from Townsville. Technically different championships, but any chance to see some sports cars on track, we'll take it.
Yeah, look, the Sprint Championship, the Endurance Championship, these guys are stepping it up a level this year. The professionalism, the pace of the race now has stepped up immensely in the last few years. So the guys out there, the gentleman drivers have certainly got to lift their game a little bit. Not as far as driving standards, but just their pace. So it gives them something to aim for. And here we see a driver change going on. Obviously, you can still use 2 drivers in that sprint format. Only a couple of guys using the 1 driver option.
Yeah, the usual names like Mies and Co. after taking pole. Mies, unfortunately, couldn't really fight back in this one. We were expecting him to come flying back through with the likes of Craig Baird. They just did such a good job in that opening stance of the race. Second of the Gemet Penalties, getting into a bit of action down there with Ricky Capo, and things would really kick off for Ricky later in the weekend, but did knock down that right rear tyre, driving as a solo driver. The number 59 Just Cuts Porsche has had a big year and got caught up with this huge fight with the Walkinshaw Porsche.
Yeah, can't say these guys aren't trying hard, but anytime you see one of these cars get scratched, you just see dollar signs.
Tony Bates is doing a really good job trying to, I guess you could say, avoid the inevitable, but that twin McLaren was always going to be lurking in the 650S, moved on through, and the race went from bad to worse. Baird and Taylor after that amazing opening stint for Craig Baird, and it was the Sticks McLaren that put on a bit of a display in that opening race. But Largo also having this incredible year in 2016. So this put Tony Bates on the front row alongside Clark Quinn. And the two went racing off towards the first corner. They were 4 wide, just looking in the background, and everyone kind of outbrake themselves down there at turn 2.
Yeah, not hard to do. Obviously approaching from different speeds is normal, and judging yourself off the other driver. But again, these guys racing hard at it. Townsville probably doesn't lend itself to a GT car too much, but some of the guys had some fun and others not so much.
Yeah, Greg Taylor facing the wrong way. Big moment this one for the Lambo. The Rulo Lambo lucky not to get caught up with anyone else going across the train tracks. But this was the moment, right rear deflation of the tyre for Ricky Capo, and oh boy, huge moment over the curbs. That car amazingly was okay, despite that huge contact, and now all the other BMW drivers watching on an amusement. How about this moment for Glenn Wood? The tiniest of touches, enough to deflate that left rear tyre. That's unlucky.
Yeah, unlucky, but it was a good pass. Just that carbon fibre is so razor sharp when you catch an edge, and rubber tyres don't like it too much.
So Tony Bates was doing such a good job in the early part of this race to fend off some of the bigger names. Scott Hookie getting caught up with the IMAT Porsche down there at turn 11, and then this big moment as well, Max Twigg getting into the McLaughlin Audi, and the pit stop started. That'll be another big factor in the Australian Endurance Championship, these timed pit stops. I'll try and explain those rules to you throughout the course of the weekend. So after the pit stop process was complete, it actually put Tony Walls at the front as the Largo Lambo was fighting the Superbarn Audi. It looked like maybe the objective McLaren was going to get the job done. Last lap, last few corners, Clark Quinn sees the yellow flags, pulls out from making the move to the lead, but then Walls runs wide. Quinn goes underneath him, was first to the finish line, but still got pinged for passing under yellow flag conditions.
Oh, that's a tough call. Yeah, feels hard done by there for Clark, but you know, good thing for Tony.
Well, I mean, what's your take on that one, Dino? We called it at the time as that would be okay, but technically the rule says you've got to run off the circuit really to be passed, doesn't it? Or
yeah, look, it's open to interpretation, I guess, and they saw it as he made the move, and I guess he disobeyed the flag, so black and white rule.
And the black and white car won in the end. Clark Quinn demoted 28 seconds in the field, which saw him drop way off the pace. We pick up the action, live pictures coming to you from Sydney Motorsport Park, qualifying the first session of 2 for the Australian Endurance Championship. It's fantastic to have a few of these new AMGs in the field, including this one being driven by Kiwi sensation Dom Story. Look how late they can go into brakes down at turn 2. It was the number 63 Mercedes that topped the opening session today.
Yeah, we've got a mixture too of the combinations. So some of the faster drivers out of the pairings are out there in this session, and some of the gentleman drivers are out there. So look, it's obviously at the end of the day you want to get the quickest time you can, but we do combine the times from the 2 qualifying sessions between the 2 drivers and add them together, and then that gives you actual starting grid for the race. So it sort of balances out anyway. But if you're someone like Craig Baird, you want to go out in the coldest part of the day and do the quickest time, because at the end of the day, that's what we do as professional drivers. We want to be quicker than the next guy. So.
It's definitely going to be an unusual way of trying to sort out the grid. We get to the end of the day and essentially get the calculators out and do the 1 + 1 divided by 2 equals you're on pole, but that's the way it's going to be. So what will essentially happen, Dino, unless we see the same names pop up at the top of the timing order, at the end of the second qualifying session, we're not going to know really who's on pole.
Not straight away, no, but normally it's the same repeat offenders. You know, that's the beauty of this series and the way it works. Obviously, you still bring into the pit stop penalties and for having pros and amateurs, but it works sometimes. You can be on the good side of it sometimes. If a safety car comes out, it can ruin your weekend. But you know, the times it does work, it makes for good racing. And the first round this year for the endurance race at Phillip Island, first and second were close together right at the end, and I don't think we even had a safety car for that whole race at Phillip Island.
No, it went completely green,
which is pretty amazing for 101 laps.
I'll be amazed if we can get through that in consecutive races. It's not like Phillip Island's an easy circuit either, so...
No, typically it would always lend itself to a couple of safety cars. But we did see plenty of action there and a few tyre failures due to the high loading of that circuit. I was on the receiving end of a tyre failure in the Lambo, but I won't get a tyre failure sitting in here this weekend. Maybe on the chair here.
Yeah, maybe on the 6-wheel Office Works chair, I don't know, as the Ortex Mercedes actually leaving some licorice traps behind it there, so traction control turned down here for Dom Story at the moment as Marshall now pops up to the top. Seeing a real mix of pro drivers and the AM drivers on track right now. Names like Baird are popping up, so it's not like we've got all of the AM guys out there, that's for sure, as Bairdo's in the 222.
Yeah, it's what I sort of noticed at the start. Yeah. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, because we had both times together, it doesn't really matter. It balances out anyway. Normally the sprint format, you just go for the quickest time for the car. So it's different here this weekend, and you always, like I said, it'll balance out.
Also got the older model SLS Gullwing GT3 out there, older model Porsche, followed by older model Ferrari. There aren't many older model cars out there. We just magically managed to find all 3 of them on the track at once. As Marcus Marshall and the Superbarn Audi, nothing old about that car.
And Marcus quickest at the moment, pretty handy time, 27.2.
So tomorrow morning, whatever you're doing tonight, make sure you get into bed early, because we are racing at Sydney Motorsport Park at 8 AM with a 101 lap endurance race for this category. It's the second round of their championship before it heads overseas to New Zealand for the last couple of rounds. And this is going to be an unpredictable race with a minimum of 2 time pit stops, which will really shake things up in this championship and be very difficult to predict who's going to end up on top.
Yeah, correct. And a lot of guys have been here testing, and obviously after the dramas with tyres at Phillip Island, I'm sure everyone will be on top of that a little bit more. But yeah, Marshall's gone to do a cool-down lap now and probably come in and assess, because he's got a handy little margin. And again, you need to use these tyres in the race. That's no point scrubbing them out and wearing them out. That'll be pretty hard to beat right about now, because the track's only getting warmer. Although Dom Story's just knocked him off half a tenth. Great job.
Nathan Antunes on a charge here. Back in an Audi. He was racing here in an Audi last season. Driving a McLaren, a Techno McLaren in the other GT Championship. And now in the Australian Endurance Championship finds himself in car 5. A formidable combination, I might add. Antunes is very fast. Missing out, we're going to P1 on that last lap. And the 911 Walkinshaw Porsche also on track to start a lap right now. This should be John Martin at the wheel.
Yeah, so these guys are pushing pretty hard at the moment already. It's very, very close to the front. But it's probably not worth trying to go for glory. Again, these these tyres. The surface is quite abrasive here, and it'll take a lot out of life out of the tyres pretty quickly. So if you're within that top sort of 5 or 6, it's up to your partner in the next session to do a good time and combine them together. And again, 101 laps. It's not about starting on the front row. It's about being consistent in the race, having a car that looks after its tyres. So qualifying's not the end all here, but we are race drivers and we all want to be number 1.
Good first sector for Martin. And coming up on our timing screens, that it's Sebastian Paneaggi in the car. But on the Natsoff screens, it's coming up with John Martin in the car.
Yeah, I would say we'll go off John Martin. He's a little bit more experienced than Paneaggi, but...
traffic ruining the lap. It came at a really bad time.
Yeah, it did. Even his second sector was only marginally off the fastest second sector, so he would have had pole there, and that's probably the best out of those tyres now. Because I don't think he's going to. Yeah, he's called it, but like I said, he's P6, and unfortunately, he didn't get the glory of being on pole.
Came ripping into pit lane then as well.
Yeah, it'd be fumes coming out from under the helmet. But, unfortunate for him, but. They might have a look at that at the end, the stewards, and penalise whoever that was. He did have his headlights on, and that's normally the gentleman rule of get out of my way. I'm on a hot lap. And murky, just all that downforce pushing the car down. I don't think they can get it any lower than that.
Look at that. That's incredible as the thing is scraping literally the bodywork. And that rear diffuser also kicking up a few sparks as well. Amazing slow motion vision through the first corner. Saint Apparel also on board. That beautiful Mercedes.
So is this Dan Gaunt or Quinn? Oh, Clark, yep.
Yep, should be Clark in the car at the moment, we believe. Sharing with Dan Gaunt, and there you go. And up on our timing screen. So we've got different information on the timing screen to what we're actually getting on the TV screens at the moment.
So these guys will be a strong combination, Clark and Dan. Dan will be fast. He obviously drove with Tony in the first endurance race in the Aston. But driving the McLaren this weekend with Clark. But yeah, I'm sure together combined, because Dan is a Pro 3, I think, so their pit stop penalty won't be as great as others. And providing they have a clean race, they'll be a strong combination.
So we're over the halfway point in this session. Just a quick run through the rules. 101 laps scheduled for tomorrow morning. The grid to be made up of the average of driver times from qualifying. So you get your best lap from one session, best lap from the other driver in the other session. Average those two out. That's how we set the grid for tomorrow's 101 lap journey. You have to make at least 2 pit stops, compulsory time pit stops, and depending on what your driver rating is, like we just heard Dino talking about, is how we sort out how long you have to stop in the pit lane for. And the difference between your amateur drivers and your pro drivers in those pit stops is remarkable.
Yeah, Phillip Island in our first driver change when I raced there earlier this year. Rushed and got the seat, his seat insert in, got the belts on, and then I sort of thought, oh yeah, it'll be pretty soon before we go. And then just sitting there like, oh, you got a minute to go, waiting. But you got plenty of time to collect your thoughts. Definitely not a 18-second pit stop driver change like we do in the supercars.
Not quite the same rush. So Story still on top, has brought that car back into the pits, and Tunis in second. He's also back in the pits. Marcus Marshall third. Miguel Molina, I haven't seen too much of Molina yet. He was really impressive at Phillip Island in one of those Audis down there as well. So keep an eye out for the Molina and Bates car. It's in the pits at the moment, but will definitely be a factor tomorrow. So how we expect this to work tomorrow, Dino, a lot of the pro drivers will probably start, do the first 25 to 27 laps, try and build a big lead, come into the pits, serve that first pit stop, and hand the car over to the pro driver to essentially, to their amateur driver, to essentially fill out half of the race in between the first sort of third and right up to the last 25 laps of the race.
Yeah,
handing it back over.
You pretty much are locked into one strategy, the way with the fuel to the end. So you sort of work from the end of the race back towards the start. So you go when the last possible time is, you can do your fuel stop, and obviously you want to have your quickest driver in at the end. But there's also a maximum amount of laps that any driver can do. So you can't start with your amateur driver, get a full tank in, and then keep your you know, seated driver, I guess, in for the last 2/3 because he'll go over his laps. But a little lock up there, which is quite strange. Must have an issue with their ABS.
Yeah, Miles and Ellingham down there at turn 6. Very rare that you had a look how big that lockup was too.
Yeah, obviously got an electrical drama there for that to happen. Everyone relies on the ABS that much. The systems are so good in these cars that you pretty much go over the threshold and just let the system sort it out. So when you do have a lockup, it's normally a good one. But yeah, as we were saying, just with the driver changes and the way the race will work, at Phillip Island we all started with the main driver or the faster driver. Did the sort of minimum, got the amateur driver in. He did the middle stint and completed his minimum laps. And basically the faster guy finished at the end there, and it was quite tight at the end there. I think Grant Denyer and Shane, wasn't it? Morcom, yeah. Sorry. Yep. So Nathan Morcom was driving, and Van Gies was closing quite quick.
Yep. It was a hell of a battle at the end of that race too, wasn't it? Really good to see. As the Superbarn Porsche, Superbarn Audi, I'm so used to saying Superbarn Porsche all those years. The Superbarn Audi starts another lap. There was a bit of foxing going on at that last corner. Everyone trying to find a little piece of turf. There's also 10 championship points up for grabs here as well in qualifying. So it does pay to be at the front here. Oh, it's a big moment for the Lambo, the new Lambo. Whoa. Pulls it up short. One of the new Hurricanes as well. Ryan Millier, who did a good job here last year, avoiding catastrophe. That was a close moment, Dino.
Really lucky. The dollar signs would have been flashing to as he headed towards those tyres there. But thankfully, the gravel trap's done its job. Hopefully, it doesn't bring out a red flag. But GT cars typically don't like being in gravel. They don't have all-wheel drive to get out of there. So, yeah, red flag. So I'd say that would be the current standings will probably be where they end up. By the time the clock will keep counting down, and there'll probably only be time for one flyer, if that. So unfortunate for the guys that went back out there. I think Marcus was on another lap just about to start, so taking a bit of life out of those tyres.
One commentator from that last session of Carrera Cup Asia will be hopping into the Objective McLaren a bit later on in the day. Oh, Millier's going to get this car moving himself.
Very good.
The big belly full of gravel. He's done a really good job to extract himself out of there. And whoever was manicuring that gravel trap this weekend deserves a medal, because he just saved about $30,000 worth of carbon fibre then.
Yes, correct. So it hasn't been too bad. It hasn't picked up too much gravel, but odd spot to sort of have a moment like that.
Traction control down too low. I'm not.
Yeah, it's quite late. There is a bump in the middle of turn 3 which can upset it, so they might just need to tweak their shocks a little bit to help that. But yeah, maybe he had it too low, but it's an odd spot for that to happen.
We had a lot of cars hitting that inside wall across the hill there last year.
But that was when it was wet. Yeah. So different scenario. Sort of don't normally see that. That's why I'm saying it's a bit strange.
How beautiful is the new Lambo? We've been waiting to see it in this championship for a while now. We've seen the older model Gallardos, which we've been in love with for years, but the new Hurricane is something else. Yeah,
look, it's I'm driving the older model. I've been driving the older model, but I had a look at the new one yesterday, and it's certainly a lot prettier and a lot more expensive. But it's built by a different company as well. So the older car was built by Ryder Engineering, sort of like a small backyard race shop, I guess. But they did a great job with that car. But now the car's built in another workshop, sort of alongside the Audi program. So it's sort of mimicked off the Audi. It is an Audi platform, Audi engine. If you have a look inside, the steering wheel actually looks exactly like the Audi GT car, but definitely a tough-looking race car.
That was a cool shot of our championship leader, Grant Denyer. He won that wet race that we were just talking about on the Sunday morning at this venue last year. And he and Nathan Morcom leading the championship points. Morcom's a Sydney boy. He'll be very keen to impress this weekend. As we look over the shoulder of Nathan Antunes with 2 minutes to go, like you mentioned. We might just see a little bit more running left. Edwards in the 88, the older model Ferrari to get going.
Yeah, you'd want to get on with your outlap to try and get one in, but for the guys in the top 6, I wouldn't even attempt. It's combined times later on, the gap is too small to sort of warrant taking life out of the tyres, but they might want to go for glory.
The Maranello Motorsport car, that'll be the new 488, I should mention as well. So they've got a couple of Ferraris here this weekend, new and old. As we check out the M6 following the 650S, but here comes the Beamer. Richards and Tweed continuing their partnership from the Australian GT Championship. So we have seen a bit of a mix-up in the entry list this weekend, Dino. It is quite different to what we see in the GT Championship, Australian Endurance Championship, the long-form version of the GT racing calendar. Definitely mixing things up a bit.
Yeah, well, I can't keep up. Yeah, obviously, Nathan Antunes is in a different car. D'Alberto's in a different car.
After the fuel is about gone through some level of change.
Yeah, so no, it's all good though. Look, it's good for the sport that everyone's having the drive of a different car, working with a different driver. And look, it is all about the gentleman drivers at the end of the day and letting them have some fun, but you know, they're all competitive at the same time. So if they can learn off the professionals, which is what it's sort of about, the Pro-Am format.
So a minute to go. Not everyone's going to get back to the stripe here to start another lap, but Clark Quinn will comfortably make the call. Through he goes, first corner. Aero and slick tyres helping to stick the 650S McLaren through turn one. Late under brakes helping with ABS down here as well into turn two. Oh,
he's
wow,
pushing hard.
Back end snapping around.
Yeah, definitely pushing hard here, Clark. So he might be trying to improve on his time. Obviously, that's always the aim. But
difficult to get out there and get the temps and pressures up in time on a very cool day here today. He's got to make that work.
Yeah, look, his first sector, I think is no, it's not his best at the moment. So just off his best first sector. Oh, another car off. Glenwood or Justin McMillan. Yeah, Justin McMillan, that is, on the outside of turn two, I think. Oh, inside of turn two, exit of two. Again, the boys might have turned the traction control down a little bit too low today. Quite a low grip surface here at Eastern Creek. It's had a fair bit of use over the years. Craig Baird's done his quickest first sector. Clark's on his best middle sector, so a couple of guys might improve here. But again, we've still got qualifying 2 to come out, and we've got to add the times together at the end of that to see where everyone ends up. But plenty of action going on in this qualifying session.
So yeah, Dom Story on top at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any purple, so I think Dom's good for this session.
Or maybe the 911. Where's the 911 Porsche at? Because Martin might got a time that could upset the apple cart. Walkinshaw would dearly love a good result. Here they come. It's been a rough week for the Walkinshaw name. And this will put a smile on their face.
He got him.
Good lap. John Martin right at the death. Craig Baird now. He's also in an improved lap. Should jump up the order a little bit. Kenny, no, he'll stay 7th.
I think he actually had traffic on that lap. But yeah, Martin's, he's actually got a good margin there. And great job, you know, to get that other lap he had to abort due to traffic, which was actually better than that lap he just did there. So the 911's looking quite pacey here.
Wow. Imagine that with all the Carrera Cup entries this weekend, if it was a Porsche that took out the Australian Endurance Championship as well. But it is just the beginning of the weekend. And it's only qualifying, the first session of qualifying, I should mention. But it's a good one for John Martin as they take the other pit entrance into their paddock. The Australian Endurance Championship second round looks like this. Qualifying completed for the first session. And it's John Martin, who's a bit of a Porsche ace in recent times, at least competing in Carrera Cup last year. Had some good LMP2 experience racing at the Le Mans 24 Hours in recent years as well. So it's Porsche from Mercedes, from Audi, the top 3. Down through this huge list. John Bow also racing here this weekend, sharing with Peter Edwards, but I think it should have been Edwards in that car throughout the majority of that session. 24 entries all up, helping us to make up what is going to be a very competitive second round of the championship. Dino, highlights coming up on a very cool morning, and the clouds are rolling in today.
Yeah, look, obviously Dom went and took advantage of the nice, cool and clean track before it started bringing carbon fibre and all that sort of stuff onto the circuit. But great first hit out, and he didn't go out again, so he's got good tyre life. Those extra few laps the other guys did, they would have been pushing really hard and to do those times they were doing. So yeah, that could hurt them later on, but great job from Dom.
It's going to be a good shootout later between
Antunes, a little moment here. Big slide in the rear.
So Pate Archie will take over the 911 Porsche, and Peter Hackett will take over the Merc, and it'll be really between them, you'd have to say, for pole position.
So there's 4 destroyed tyres.
Yep. And you only get 3 sets this weekend, so it's really not good news. How's the cars getting air up over, well, not the Lambo, but a few guys getting airborne up over the mountain today. And unfortunately, a big slip for Ryan Millier. Sharing that car with Jim Manolius this weekend, part of the Trofeo Motorsport Lamborghini operation. They've made the switch to Lambos and are importing even more of these cars in. So it brought out the red flag, but he got that new Hurricane out of the gravel trap, right in front of the older model Lamborghini.
Did the right thing too, took it offline, got rid of all the gravel.
Yeah, tried to get rid of as much of that gravel as possible. And with a lap right at the death, the 911 Walkinshaw Porsche in the hands of John Martin took provisional pole. Dino, thank you very much, but we need another quick ad break here. And this Sunday, following